back and forth with a flashlight looking for me is genuinely one of the scariest.
Holy, there's a coyote outside. Right outside my tent. Hey buddy, you want to leave me alone?
Okay guys, I've pushed quite a way into the cornfield at this point.
Some nights in the wilderness don't just feel wrong, they become wrong. In these solo camping encounters, people didn't just hear things in the dark, they were found by them. These are the 6 most disturbing solo camping encounters caught on camera. Case number 1, on June 1st, 2025. This video was uploaded by Sort of Interesting, showing a night camping trip that quickly turned into fear and confusion in a dark, rural forest. He was alone in the woods at night when he realized something was wrong.
This isn't fun, this. I am so stupid. I am the stupidest person
This footage of me literally cowering on my knees, hiding in the woods at night, as an unknown stranger scans the trees back and forth with a flashlight looking for me, is genuinely one of the scariest.
After a while, the search stopped. He stayed silent in the darkness, waiting to make sure the person was really gone. The forest felt empty, but not safe.
Moments of my life. After a good while of searching, they finally left, and I stayed there in absolute silence and darkness for a long time afterwards to make sure they'd gone. Once I was convinced they'd gone, I almost literally ran up.
When he finally moved, he ran uphill into deeper darkness, trying to escape and feel safer, but the fear did not leave him.
Into the hills to hide and hopefully feel a little bit safer, which unfortunately was not destined to happen. I was quite embarrassed by this incident and the fear at the time, and when I edited the video it was simply saved as failed wild camp, and I almost didn't post it, but then thought, well, I look like an idiot most of the time, so let's just see what people think. It got about 30,000 views on my channel, which as a tiny YouTuber was fantastic. What I hadn't anticipated, though, was that this would go on to be included in various scary video compilations and start to get millions of views all over different people's channels and social media platforms. I'm sure I don't need to tell anybody on the internet that with millions of views come an awful lot of opinions. Some good, some bad, and some outright disturbing. So now that a few months have passed since this incident, I thought I would give you some more background context and more of the truth of the entire experience and event of this weird little incident. As a comical little side note, I still can't believe the first thing I said when I got to these woods was this.
Ooh, the spooky woods.
Despite this being my first solo wild camp attempt, I've actually been wild camping for almost 2 decades. I absolutely love it, whether hidden away in fields or on the top of mountains. I'm not worried about getting battered by the weather or wading through streams and rivers. And in fact, I spent a lot of my adult life living on canal boats, so I've spent a lot of time living and sleeping out in some incredibly rural, secluded and peaceful areas. The reason I make a big deal of this now is to show that I am experienced, I'm not scared of getting dirty or cold or rained on, and I'm not particularly scared of spooky rustling noises at night. However, I think some of the people who've seen these clips posted in all sorts of other places have maybe seen images.
Later, he explains what really happened that night. He saw a bright light from a road nearby, and then a car stopped. Someone got out and started shining a light directly into the trees. Then the situation turned worse. He noticed the person was scanning the forest slowly, looking directly into the dark where he was hiding.
I come across with my high-pitched voice and my awkward ways, but I just want to play you the actual scary bit now from the woodlands, and then we'll talk about what I really think was going on here, and then move on to the second scary incident of the evening.
Dim lights only now. I was just shining the torch round on full beam, showing like the woods to the camera.
some car somewhere on a road up there stopped, and I swear a torch shone into the trees, obviously from well above my head, but it's just spooked me a bit. Oh man, my heart is going. I swear the car that I just mentioned pulled up and somebody has got... I'm trying to tell myself that, but I am really... Oh my goodness me. I know. This isn't fun, this. I am so stupid. I am the stupidest person I don't know if you can see that they are literally scanning up and down. They are literally...
At that moment, he realized something important. A normal person would not just randomly search a dark forest unless they thought someone or something was there. That made everything feel dangerous and uncertain.
Can you see this on the ground? They're literally looking straight at me.
So what's basically happened is I've been getting some spooky woodland footage for my video with my high beam torch. Somebody's driven past on a really rural country lane and seen that light.
He stayed completely still, but the stranger kept searching the trees. Then the light suddenly disappeared, like they had noticed something or changed direction.
In the woods, and decided to get out and investigate for one reason or another. And then I've seen that and immediately gone dark. So perhaps they were even more scared than me as they were looking into the woods, wondering why on earth a magical bright light source had suddenly disappeared, and maybe who was looking back out of the woods at them looking for me. The real questions are, who was it and why were they so interested? And unfortunately, there's two options that are probably just as likely as each other. So firstly,
he later said there were two possible reasons. Either the person was worried about local trouble in the area, or they were someone dangerous themselves, checking the woods for targets.
At this particular time, there was a lot of trouble going on in this area and in some of the local villages. And that's not a particularly uncommon thing, and the police have actually just said they're launching a named operation in one of the very local villages to this area because of the amount of trouble that's going on. So it could have been somebody passing by who was concerned about the amount of trouble afoot and wondering if somebody out in the woods at night flashing these lights around were up to mischief themselves, and so came in to see what I was doing. Or it may have been somebody who was responsible for some of the trouble in the area, who was thinking,
After that, the fear stayed with him. While he moved deeper into the hills, he could still hear distant noises, engines, shouting, and movement from far away.
I wonder if there's another easy target in there. So that's why I basically was never ever going to give up my position if I could avoid it, and luckily I didn't have to. So as you can see, I ran up into the hills, and finally, when I was goodness knows how many miles away, after walking with all of my kit on my bag in the stormy weather and being half scared out of my skin, I sat down and had my pasta to eat. But as I was up here, I could hear quad bikes or dirt bikes going along the road in the distance. I could hear shouting, and I'm sure I could hear a car alarm going off as well. And I don't know if that's a sign that some of the idiocy that had been going on in this area was still going on. I don't know if this was a car break-in that somebody'd unfortunately left a camper van or one of their vehicles in one of the car parks along that road you saw me travel on with the red light earlier, and they'd basically become another victim of some of the
Every sound made him think he was being followed. Even when he tried to rest, he kept looking over his shoulder, expecting something to appear behind him.
trouble. But either way, while I was here, you can see I'm distracted. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder because I'm sure that I can hear all of this sound, hear a man shouting, hear a car alarm and these bikes. So of course my concern here is what an unbelievably soft and easy target I'm going to be. If there are people zipping around on quad bikes and dirt bikes, they're going to be absolutely all over me before I've got a chance to even react, and that's before you consider that I've already walked goodness knows how many miles uphill here with all of the weight on my back. And where I'd hoped to camp on this particular night, because of the amount of time it had taken me to get through the spooky woods and everything else that was going on, it was looking less and less likely in the worsening weather conditions that I was going to.
Eventually, he decided he could not continue the camp. The fear of real people in the dark was too strong, so he left the area completely and went back, even though it meant abandoning his trip.
Sensibly and safely make it to my intended campsite, a little bit further, hopefully, from the trouble going on. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to have to run back home to safety as fast as I can and get out of here and pretend none of this ever happened. And as I say, it ended up being about 16 miles or something as a round trip that I'd wasted all of that time, wasted all of that effort and energy. And completely honestly here, I was embarrassed to go back and say to my girlfriend, oh yeah, it was too scary. There was all sorts of stuff going on out in the darkness. And so I thought I'm going to come home. So that's the reality and the more of the context of this evening. I know that it's fun to see these dramatic clips in isolation, and it's amazing some of the commentaries people have done over my skin.
By the end, he made it clear that the danger was not something supernatural. It was the unknown people in the dark woods that made him run.
Scary video footage. It's brilliant. I love it. But this is more of the overall context. There genuinely has been a lot of trouble. The police are paying attention specifically to some of the localities in this area because of how much trouble there is. So even though it might look like dramatic, spooky woodland footage, I wasn't so much scared of ghosts and goblins getting me. I was scared of very real.
With that being said, let's move on to our second footage from this video. Case number 2. On November 1st, 2019, the YouTube channel Uncharted Travel premiered a disturbing video from deep in the Great Canadian North, where a man decided to spend the night alone inside an abandoned prison in the wilderness.
I'm going to be going alone, and I'm going to be staying the night. The only people I've actually seen out this far are reservists, so that's a little bit concerning. Hopefully there's no one around where I plan on parking. I guess this is where I park here. Time for a nice hike. So here's the deal. It's 4 o'clock now. The sun sets around here around 6:30. If my orienteering is correct, it's about a 2-hour hike to the actual prison location. That gives me about a half an hour of daylight to get everything set up and ready to roll before dark hits, and then I won't be able to see anything. So I gotta make up some good ground, and hopefully I can get everything prepared in time for...
The plan sounded simple. He would hike 2 hours through the forest, but the place was extremely remote. He already knew that if something went wrong, there would be no phone signal and no help nearby.
Information about this location and how secure it was, and everyone kind of gave me some mixed answers. Like I got, from one person it was being used as reservists for a training facility, and another person gave me, oh, it has its own private security, and another person said, oh, it's just one crazy farmer who shoots salt slugs at you. Weirdly enough, we're so far north that my biggest fear isn't even getting caught by security or patrol or whatever. It's actually bears and mountain lions. Mother Nature scares me more than people do. Every year, a handful of urban explorers tackle the 2-hour trek to the abandoned Camp Bison prison. After having driven about 5 hours north and soon approaching the halfway point of the hike, only one thought was going through my head. I had come too far to get caught now.
After hours of hiking, he finally reached the abandoned prison known as Camp Bison, a facility built in 1958 that once held hundreds of inmates before being shut down in 1975.
Located in the Wanapite River Valley area, Camp Bison Prison was constructed in 1958, housing up to 850 inmates at any one time. The location was classified as a medium security isolation prison, being accessible only by rail. The prison was entirely self-sufficient, generating its own power and harvesting its own food, grown by the inmates themselves in the surrounding fields. The construction of a nearby highway in the 70s caused a new risk of potential prisoner escapes. After the local township couldn't afford to update the facility with the necessary fortification measures to contain the inmates, the prison was closed in 1975 and has sat abandoned ever since.
Inside, the building felt strange and empty. Long, dark hallways, broken cell doors, and echoing rooms made the place feel uneasy. Even during daylight, he felt a growing sense of paranoia, as if someone might be behind him in the empty corridors.
This place is gonna get super creepy at night. I'm guessing these all would have been cells. This was probably a cell block here. Everything echoes. The paranoia started to set in. Getting creeped out every now and again. It's only going to get worse as it gets darker. So I'm just trying to familiarize myself with it.
As the sun slowly set, he chose the cafeteria area to set up his small tent and camp for the night.
With daylight fading, I decided to head back to the cafeteria and set up my camp there. What I initially thought to be the safest location to sleep in would later prove to be my worst nightmare.
That decision would soon turn into a mistake. Later that night, he left his tent to explore deeper into the prison. He wandered through stairwells, basements, and even dark tunnels beneath the building.
I think the basement should have the boilers. We shall see. Or this could just be a creepy basement. My vote's gonna go to yes. There's a light that used to be hanging on the ceiling. I wonder why there's all this caging around this area. What these would have been used for. I think it might be through here. Oh, look at that. Oh. That first step is a Lulu. Well, I found the boiler room. Now it's just a matter of getting down there.
At one point, while walking through the prison's flooded tunnels, he suddenly heard a strange noise behind him.
I thought I just heard something from over there. That might be our cue to return back to where we came. After I had my fill of fun exploring the catacombs of the service tunnels underneath the prison, it was time to head back to camp and check in for the night. Or so I thought.
That sound made him return quickly to his campsite. When he reached his tent again, the building seemed quiet at first. But then he began hearing movement in the prison corridors nearby, like something slowly walking around the building.
Put on some dry socks and go to bed. It's been a long day. I'm in my tent and I keep hearing something outside. Sounds like it's in the corridor, one of the corridors. Maybe an animal, I don't know. Of course now it's... Did you hear that? I hope that mic picked that up. Okay, let me get my shoes on. We're checking this out. He had Fox earlier, so maybe it was one of his buddies.
He tried to ignore it and finally went to sleep. But sometime later in the night, he woke up to a disturbing sound just outside his tent. A coyote was standing right outside the camp. At first, it was only...
Holy, there's a coyote outside. Right outside my tent.
Hey buddy, you want to leave me alone?
But soon he realized there were many more moving through the woods around the prison.
I'm guessing it's on the lower level. On the second floor, beneath me. Oh my god. There's a pack of coyotes out in the woods over there. Let's just hope to God they don't come up here.
The animals began circling the building, and their sounds echoed through the empty halls. As the night grew colder, the coyotes became bolder and started moving closer to his tent, circling it again and again.
Essentially what happened is it dropped below freezing. Everything is covered in a layer of ice. It was really hard for me to keep warm. Thank God I had a pair of hot pockets that I forgot about. This place during the day, no problem, piece of cake. From dusk till dawn, it's on a whole nother level, man. As soon as I tried going to bed, I heard, like, it sounded like human footsteps, like just like scraping across the floor. But it turned out to be just a pack of coyotes. So that was pretty sweet. They were like stalking me. And then after a little while, I heard them cackling, and then I realized it was sounded like a jackal or coyote. I'll just use coyote for ease of term. But
Eventually, he grabbed his knife, rushed outside, and yelled to scare them away. For a few minutes, it worked. But the coyotes kept returning, each time getting closer to the tent than before.
And they just kept circling. And they kept getting closer and closer. So then I was like, all right, I've had enough of this. So I grabbed my knife and I barged out the front door, and I kind of like fended them off. I started yelling at them and scared them away. And then 5 minutes later, they were circling again, circling around the tent. So then I scared them off again. And every time, this happened like maybe one or two more times, and every time they'd come back, they'd get more and more bold and they'd get more and more close, which I...
Finally, when they began brushing against the sides of his tent, he realized the situation had become dangerous. He quickly packed his gear and ran through the prison building to escape them. Then he did something that will shock you.
I called it, so I scared them off one last time. I packed up my things and I ran pretty much threw everything in like a bindle in the tent, and then I ran up the stairs and lost the coyotes, and thankfully made it up to the roof, barricaded the roof door so that they couldn't get up, which luckily held them off for the whole night. But then as soon as I got my camp set up here, I heard them on the second story. They were looking for me. They were walking up and down the hallways trying to find me, and I was trying to keep so quiet not to.
From there, he could still hear the coyotes walking through the hallways below, searching through the empty prison during the night.
Up here, I heard them on the second story. They were looking for me. They were walking up and down the hallways trying to find me, and I was trying to keep so quiet not to alert them or anything like that. I was exhausted. It was like 3 a.m. at this point, 4 a.m. maybe.
For hours, he stayed awake in the cold, listening to their growls echo through the building. And in that moment, alone in the middle of the wilderness, he realized something terrifying. Out there, he was the one being hunted.
And my stomach, because I hadn't eaten pretty much anything, my stomach started grumbling. And just then I started hearing growling, like vicious growling. And that's when I knew they were not there to be friendly. And the growling sounded like it was coming from a foot behind my head. So I grabbed my knife, grabbed a flashlight, bust out the tent again, and I realize that the coyote is directly beneath me on the second story, growling up at me, trying to figure out where I am. So I spent pretty much the next hour or so awake listening to them stalking me in the hallway. And I don't know if you guys have ever been hunted before, but it kind of sucks. So it was kind of scary. I was honestly terrified that they'd break through my barricade and that was it. Because I mean, I'm alone out here. There is no service. There's no cell reception, no nothing. If they one bad bite, I'm at least a 2-hour hike to the car. And from the car, I'm about like a 3-hour drive from, well, maybe a 1-hour drive from civilization. So if something goes wrong out here, that's it. And I believe, honestly, my decision to move up on from the cafeteria to the roof is the reason why I'm still here right now. But anyways, enough of the serious stuff. Let me show you the campsite. This is the tent right here, and as you can see, it's...
With that being said, let's move on to our next disturbing camping encounter. Case number 3, on October 16th, 2022. A YouTube channel called Work Less, Enjoy Life More uploaded disturbing footage from a night that happened about 12 miles south of Williams, Arizona, deep in the woods. The man in the video, Larry, was camping alone in his RV. At the start of the video, the camera suddenly turns on inside the camper. There is no introduction. His breathing is heavy, as if something had already scared him before recording started. The forest outside is dark and completely quiet.
I don't want to go out there.
Then everything changes. A woman suddenly screams for help somewhere outside in the woods. The sound is clear and very close. It sounds real and desperate. Larry freezes when he hears it. For a moment, he stays inside, listening carefully. But the thought that someone might be in danger pushes him to move. He slowly opens the RV door and steps outside with a flashlight. The light moves across the trees, but the forest shows nothing. There was only darkness. He calls out into the woods, asking if someone needs help. There is no answer.
Hello? Do you need help? Hello?
The silence becomes uncomfortable. He keeps looking around the trees, then something catches his attention.
Hello? Do you need help?
Just outside the light from his flashlight, a man is standing in the trees watching him. The camera does not clearly show the figure, but Larry sees him. Fear hits instantly.
Okay, that's creepy.
quickly runs back to the RV and locks the door. Only seconds later, a gunshot echoes through the forest. The sound confirms the danger, but it does not stop there.
Need somebody out there.
The man outside begins shaking the RV door, trying to force it open. The camper moves slightly as the door rattles. Then a new sound appears near the bottom of the vehicle. It sounds like someone is trying to crawl underneath the RV. Larry whispers nervously, asking what the person wants. A moment later, he hears something worse.
What do you want?
The underbelly storage bay door suddenly opens. That means someone may have crawled under the RV. For a few seconds, he stays completely still, barely breathing.
I just heard that. I just heard the bay door open. I think he was under the bay door, under where the doors at. But the alarm went off and I think it scared him off.
He believes the man was trying to get inside through the bottom of the camper. Suddenly, the RV alarm goes off, and the noise seems to scare the person away. Later, Larry slowly opens the door again and steps outside with a pistol. But the man is gone, just an empty forest in the middle of the night. Larry later said it was the most terrifying experience of his life, and the video ends without ever showing who that man was or why he was hiding in the woods that night. With that being said, let's move on to our fourth footage for this video. Case number 4, on October 30th, 2023. He went camping in a dark, remote woodland, unaware that the night would turn terrifying. The forest already felt uneasy as he arrived, the shadows stretching long under the weak light.
Come on, mate. Oh, it doesn't half look creepy down here. Oh, this light keeps going off. Oi!
As darkness fell, he set up his tent near an area that looked like a pagan ritual site. The trees around him were skeletal and bare, and every rustle of leaves seemed louder than it should be.
Don't know, does this look like a pagan ritual site? I'll tell you one thing, it looks creepy, so let's camp here, shall we? I can't see any pagan markings or out like that. Right then, let's
The forest floor was littered with dry leaves, making every step or falling branch sound amplified in the night.
but that's because I've got light shining in my face and I can't see out, and there's a slight breeze in the air, so there's lots of things just dropping from trees because it's autumn now, so there's conkers and all sorts of stuff dropping out. Over here in front of me, it's all dried leaves on the floor, so every time something drops from there, it's really, really amplified. But
While trying to relax, the wind and falling branches became constant, unnatural noises. Then something moved closer, twigs snapped, branches cracked, and he could sense movement just beyond the light of his torch.
I don't know if it's just branches or twigs falling out of trees, but I keep hearing breaking. It's definitely getting colder now. I can definitely hear something out there. I can't see out.
Every time he shone his light, it flickered or went out, leaving him in brief, terrifying darkness.
Oh, shit. Hold on, mate. Let me get my light up. It's falling behind my back. Come on, move. Are you getting in? Come on then. Trees keep falling from old branches and they're pretty close, but I checked to make sure there were no widowmakers out here, so don't know. Always check for widowmakers. I'm gonna have to close up soon because this light's attracting all flies. Right, come on. Why has this light gone off?
The tension grew unbearable. Sounds of people shouting and running erupted suddenly from deeper in the woods, as if a crowd of 20 or 30 men was heading straight toward him.
Wow, what a crazy night that was, eh? When I was packing up, I managed to get my my sleeping bag and everything and get that in my backpack. Then I heard loads and loads of screaming, like shouting from men, and it sounded like there were about 20 or 30 of them. And then they all started running, and it sounded like they were coming towards tent, so I just...
He grabbed his bag and ran, leaving the tent and most of his gear behind. The forest seemed alive with anger, making him feel that he had never been welcome here.
Just grabbed my bag and off skis, because my keys were in my bag. I look at my tent. I had to leave my tent here because I just wanted to get out of there. And a few other bits as well that I left. Look at the state of it. Oh, come on, mate. Snap my poles and that. Sleep mat. Where's my cook kit? My cook kit were over here somewhere. Don't mind people scaring you and stuff out of woods, but when they're just going to break stuff as well, what's the point in that? Eh? Oh, it's got rips in that fly sheet as well, look at that. Well, they obviously didn't want me to come back.
By the time he escaped, the night had left him shaken. The tent was ripped, belongings scattered, and the woods seemed determined to remind him some places are not meant for humans. Would he return? The forest had already made its answer clear. That brings us to our fifth footage for these really disturbing camping encounters. Case number 5, on April 7th, 2025. Deep in the mountain wilderness, the MA Journey YouTube channel shared a night that nearly went wrong. He was hiking toward a hunter's summer cabin, knowing this land was home to wolves, bears, and lynxes. As the light faded, he realized there was no time left to reach safety. He knew this place was active with predators, and staying out in the open was not an option. That was when he found it, an old tree shelter, high off the ground and worn by time. It looked unsafe, slippery, and forgotten, but it was the only place that offered protection. From inside the shelter he stayed still and listened. The wolves did not appear, but their howls cut through the night, making sleep almost impossible. When morning finally came, the forest changed. The howling was gone and the danger felt distant again. He stepped down knowing one thing for sure: without that abandoned tree shelter, the night could have ended very differently. With that being said, let's move on to our last, most disturbing camping encounters. Case number 6, on September 14th, 2025. At a working farm beside a large cornfield, the creator from 401 Files went out alone to investigate reports of strange lights and sounds.
Who got in touch. A large number of cattle had been stolen or abducted, whichever you prefer to use, in this incident, and since then there's been strange lights above the barn house. A lot of workers around this farm have been reporting very strange phenomena, so we're going to stake the farm out tonight, see if we can see anything untoward. You'll no doubt hear a cockerel in the background. It's been sounding off all day. It's a very active working farm still, so this is going to be an awesome video. I've not done a stakeout like this in a very, very long time, so I'm super excited. Please do kick back, relax, and enjoy. I've set myself up here on the edge of the farm. People have reported strange lights moving across these fields. Workers talk about hearing noises that they can't explain, and there are claims of cattle vanishing without a trace. I don't know what I'll find here tonight, but I'm here to try and capture whatever is behind this. Lots of farm animal noises. That cockerel's been going for the last hour and a bit. Let's see if we can hear it again. No doubt we will.
As night moved closer, he stepped deeper into the corn. The plants closed in around him, blocking his view in every direction. The air felt tight, and the field felt far too quiet for a place that size. He said the space felt closed and uneasy even before anything happened.
He helped me in this investigation. As you can imagine, the vibe in here is one that's close to the feeling of being claustrophobic. Everywhere I see, in every direction around me, is closed off. The visibility is no more than 2 meters in front of me in either direction. Now, if you start conjuring up ideas or images of a dogman or some kind of a cryptid stood in one of these aisles, and all of a sudden you just walk on top of that creature as it's standing there, that is a terrifying thought to have, and that's going to conjure up feelings of anxiety and God knows whatever else. So you have to keep a clear head, you have to be thinking logically. But in terms of feeling any kind of energy, right now this just feels like it should do. It feels like me standing in a field full of crop, a field full of corn. And other than the feeling of being claustrophobic and the slight feeling of anxiety, this seems pretty...
Later, while sitting still inside the corn, he noticed a strong, strange smell that did not match the crop. Almost at the same time, he heard something moving through the corn.
There's a real pungent smell of something at this point. Could be the crop. Although I'm smelling everything on the crop and it doesn't smell, like anything that I can distinguish. It's a very terrifying experience for anyone to be out here doing this kind of stuff. The aim is to keep looking up through the crop and see if any of those strange lines pass overhead. About 5 minutes into me being sitting here, I heard what sounded like an animal pushing its way through the crop as well, which was really terrifying because for a minute it sounded like it was coming in my direction. I could hear the trampling of something making its way through, something that sounded large. It wasn't a rat or, some small rodent. This thing was actually moving crop out of the way, so I was thinking badger or fox, but it then stopped. So before I could give a positive idea on what that was, the noise...
Moments later, something far more disturbing appeared. A cold blue light began reflecting off the corn. It showed up without warning and moved around him. The light did not fade like a torch or vehicle light. It just appeared and vanished.
There's a blue light. It's reflecting off the crop. It's difficult to gauge. Lily, it's there. What the hell is that? 1 second. I'm going to turn my torch on. Let's turn this light off. There's no noise. Just a blue light. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is something definitely moving through
this crop in front of me, but it's difficult to gauge.
The light returned again and again, surrounding him from different directions. He could not tell how far away it was, and there were no footsteps, engines, or voices to explain it.
This light is happening all around me. That's insane. I'm going to keep recording for a little bit longer. It's hard to tell or orientate yourself, but I'm actually filming in all directions at this point. The light hasn't changed colour, it's just been a blue, ice cold blue light. Here it is again. It's 360 degrees all around me. This is facing behind me right now with the camera. What the hell?
As the movement in the field grew closer, he decided to leave. Something was clearly walking through the corn toward him. His dog, Lily, was tied outside the field and could not have caused the sound. That realization pushed him to get out immediately.
Guys, I'm gonna move. There is something walking through this cornfield. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. It's so difficult to
After reaching the woods, he could still hear movement behind him. Whatever was in the corn stayed hidden, but it did not feel gone.
the experience. I started hearing something walking through the crop. Very distinctive. Wasn't me, because I was stationary. Wasn't Lily, because Lily was tied up at a tree at this point.
Even days later, the questions remained. He returned to review the footage, convinced that something unexplained had shared that cornfield with him that night. Moving. For more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video. Comment below which case you find the most horrifying. Don't forget to press the bell icon for future notifications.